started when I was about 8. I became a bike guy. Bicycles were the original freedom machine.
Yep.
And then obviously the next step up from that was one with a motor in it. So,
well, let's start from right back then. What was your first bike?
Yamaha GT80.
Okay.
And I think it was about 1976.
Yeah, okay.
I was working for Bendix and Co. after school, emptying their bins in Inverell in New South Wales.
Yep.
Saved up and ended up with a bike.
Looking in here, like you've got a really nice variety of bikes in here. Starting here though, like what's going on here? The EV's obviously the big thing at the moment.
Yes, yeah, this is a bit of an odd one because it's got no mufflers on it. So a good friend of mine put me onto these about 2 years ago and said, you've got to get one, try it, ride it, and change your thinking. So it's a Zero SR. It's about a 2016 model.
Yep.
It's LAMS approved, belt drive, and it'll leave a R6 for dead off the line. So
yeah, wow.
It is a very interesting experience riding an electric bike. You can have it very sporty. You can adjust everything electronically, all your modes, your traction controls, but the silence opens up another set of sensors of you listening to your tyres. And funnily enough, keeping an eye out for cyclists on the roads because they don't hear you coming. And but it's a glimpse of the future, so it's going to be very, very interesting what the next couple of generations of electric bikes bring.
Yeah.
But you certainly get the motorcycle fun experience out of it. That's the important thing.
And I mean, so you know, looking at this as a EV, to my left over here, like the complete other end of the spectrum. And what's happening? Is it a restoration project? Or?
Yes, yeah. This is a 1973 Husqvarna 250 WRRT.
Yep.
Pretty rare bike, road registerable. 50 years old this year, so hope to have the restoration
wow.
done and put away by that time. But anybody who's been a Steve McQueen fan, this was his favourite model of bike.
Cool.
These bubble tank Husqvarnas.
And how do you find these days with restoration parts and so forth? There's a lot of stuff you've got to chase or stuff you've got to make? Or?
Yeah, on these ones, a lot of chasing. So the internet's been very good for anybody restoring stuff these days. You get the ability to find parts in Europe and through the US. The rest of it's still old-fashioned hard work and cleaning up and machining and everything that we do here locally too. So.
And the goal, I guess, for this is to like an as-new type look, or
Correct. This one will be a full nut and bolt restoration.
Yep.
So to finish.
Yeah, beautiful. I'm standing here, like there's obviously a 3D printer here, and engine part. What's going on here with this? This is obviously another end of the spectrum again.
Yes, yeah, we got into 3D printing a couple of years ago for automotive and motorcycle stuff. So I've been tinkering and designing different bits and pieces. This is a backdate rocker cover.
Okay.
See if they fit, see if we like them or not, before we send them to production or a better material. So it's also a fantastic tool for making parts that you can't buy anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1970s plastic that's just disintegrated and is no longer made. So it's a fantastic tool and bit of technology.
So this here is absolutely gorgeous. Is this something that you've restored?
I've helped a friend. This is a friend's bike.
Okay, yep.
And unfortunately it spends a lot of time here getting worked on, but it's beautiful and it's a mega attention getter. It really does pull a crowd. It's remarkable how many people get attracted to this thing, like an old Holden at a show. And I haven't seen a bike pull as much attention as this thing does. So it's very pretty. Now it's nice and reliable and rideable. But it's
I mean, what was this like when he first bought it before restoring it?
Basket case. I think he made it up out of about 3 bikes.
Okay. Now over here, like this is obviously looks brand new. Current model?
Current model, yes.
Yep.
40th anniversary, 1250 GSA. So this is my go around Australia bike.
Yep.
It's as big as the Queen Mary, but comfortable. If you want to eat up the miles on the highway, this is the bike to do it on.
Oh yeah, and the BMWs have got that reputation of if you want to ride this from the east to the west of Russia without having to fix anything, that's the thing to do it on, isn't it?
That's right, that's right, without a doubt.
Yeah, wow. And then over here, so Husqvarna.
Yes.
So you've got the old and the new.
Yes.
Yeah, so
that's probably the best thumper engine ever made.
Yep.
It's 700cc and the suspension is fantastic on a corrugated dirt road, big wide open stuff, fabulous bike. It's got so much grunt and so much top end. It'd have to be the best dirt bike I've ever ridden.
Yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely love it.
Obviously everyone knows what Playboy is, and they were known for sponsoring back in the day, but what's the story with this bike? Is this a replica or a mock-up, or is it something that...
We'll call it a tribute. Back in the early 80s, BMW had a big dominance in the Dakar rallies, Gaston Ray here. In the early 90s, I was selling BMW motorcycles, and I always loved the R80 GS, which was the real Dakar tribute bike, the original travelling bike. I loved them, but I didn't like their carburetors, I didn't like their suspension and their load carrying. And I always had something for the 1100 fuel injected motor.
Yep.
So what this is a 95 1100 backdated to look like an 84.
Okay.
So we get all the niceties of the cruiser bike too, and a little bit more weight, but really has that inappropriate advertising on it and all that stuff that we liked from the early days. A bunch of 3D printed stuff on this as well, custom subframe that we've welded up. Rebuilding the tubeless rims from scratch was a bit of a mission, and the calipers, so yeah, we learned a bit in the last couple of years on this one.
Tell me a little bit about, like you mentioned before, some of your racing, but what's the real history behind that? I mean, how much racing did you do? How much time did you spend in the paddock, and what did you love about it?
Yeah, I was detailing motorcycles for half a dozen different bike shops in Brisbane to pay my way through uni. So I happened to be detailing some bikes for a Yamaha shop, and they needed a spare parts man in a hurry one day. I thought, right, no more uni for me, I'm back in a bike shop. And luckily it was a well-known bike shop here, Greg Hansford, City Yamaha.
Yep.
Very much involved in racing, sponsored a lot of riders in motocross, enduro, road racing, all sorts of types of things. So I got to race a bunch of bikes that generally from when one of our riders, sponsored riders, was injured.
Yep.
Seeing the entry was already paid and I didn't have to pay for the fuel or the bike, so I'd be the first one to jump on.
Yeah, nice.
So that gave me a lot of road experience. I was still doing a lot of enduro and motocross at the time. So that was the start of it back in the day.
And I guess, I mean, the name Greg Hansford's pretty well known. You would have met some pretty well-known riders and influential people. What are some of your memorable moments of people you met and places you went?
Yes, yeah, it was fantastic. You couldn't dream of meeting all these people that were Greg's friends from Europe, and we had Kenny Roberts and Randy Mamola, a lot of the locals here, of course Alan Moffat and Alan Jones from the car side of stuff. Got to go and work on the Group C RX-7s in the pits.
Oh, very cool.
So it was sitting as a kid at the back of the pub listening to Alan Jones talking to one of the GP riders about Silverstone coming over the hill and changing a gear, or somebody lifting their head above the fairing to scrub off 15 miles an hour to make the next corner. As a young fellow, it was just mind-boggling, these stories, and how casual and how nice a bunch of people they were. It was yeah, wouldn't trade it for the world.
Speaking of rides then, it's a beautiful day outside. It is Brisbane, it's Queensland weather, so fancy going for a ride? I've got my helmet here.
Yeah, sure, let's do it.
Bendix Moto. Ride with confidence.